Okay, so in this little installment of our Scripting for Media Pros series, we're going to start doing some more interesting stuff. We're actually going to, touch some video files and do some things to them, and then learn some of the basic elements of JavaScript or really of any coding language. So what we're going to start by doing is importing in one of these modules of code that I've been talking about that you can find on NPM.js. If you hop over to Chrome and go to npmjs.com, you'll find that apparently you can build amazing things here. This is where you're going to find loads and loads of packages that give you really, really, really useful chunks of code to incorporate into your projects. The very first one I'm going to show you is not like the most exciting one, but it's an amazing utility that loads and loads and loads of people use that do work like us. It's called Moment, and it is a tool that you use to, as it says, parse, validate, manipulate, and format dates. Very frequently you need to rename files, and you might want to use some kind of date structure to do that. And Moment is a great library for doing that, for grabbing the current date, for making dates out of date objects out of weirdly formatted dates you might find in some kind of source footage or in some kind of text file or some kind of Excel file. And then it's really good at manipulating those and displaying them however you want, however your organization displays dates. So whenever you get to any one of these NPM modules, it will give you the instructions for installing it. Pretty darn simple. Type in npm I. You could type the whole word install, but I is short for install, and then the name Moment. So I'm going to hop over to terminal. I'm going to do this. npm I for install Moment. Again, making sure that I'm still in that folder where my project is. And I called mine scripting demo. You might have called yours something else. So npm I Moment, and then enter. It's going to churn away for a little bit, and it's going to say it's done. How do I know it's done? How do I know it's in there? Well, if I hop on over to Atom and I look at my package.json file, I am now going to see Moment as one of the dependencies of my project. And that means that anyone else who someday would install my project, because they found it on GitHub or ultimately on NPM if I publish it, it's going to bring in Moment so that the package can run for them, because I'm not writing Moment myself, I'm kind of bringing it in from somewhere else. And this, in the package.json, helps other future installers of my tool know that they also need to install Moment without that user ever even having to think about it. They're not going to have to search for Moment. I've done all the work for them. So it's in there. Now we're going to use it in our little script. So let's hop over to the CLI.js. Let's start working in there from now on. At the top, what we're going to do is type in var for variable moment equals require, and then parentheses, and then inside of there the word moment. And what this line is doing is it's saying, hey, go grab all that code that the people that made Moment called Moment, and store it in this word, this variable Moment, so that you can use it later. And here's how you use it. I'm going to create another variable, and this is the variable that I'm going to store the date in. So var, the date. In JavaScript, when you're naming variables, it's conventional when you smush words together to not capitalize the first letter of the variable, but then every time you hit a new word, don't put a space in. That's illegal. But just capitalize that next word, and that helps people read it and see the distinctions between words in a long variable name. So I'm going to have the capital D date. It's called camel case because there's a hump. Yeah, you get it. The date equals moment, parentheses, this fires the function moment and say, hey, get a moment right now, a date right now, the second this thing fires. And then I'm going to do dot format, and then some more parentheses, and then inside of there I'm going to put another chunk of characters, a string, we've been calling it. And this string is going to help Moment know how it is I want my date formatted. If you hop on over to the documentation for Moment, if I go to the NPM package that has Moment, what I'll see is that somewhere in here it's going to link out to the documentation. here we go, momentjs.com. And over in the docs section, first time out, you probably would, stumble through trying to find the right spot. But just I'll help you locate the right spot. Is display is where we want to go. That's where we learn how to format these date strings. And there are loads and loads and loads of parts of the date that you can access. And there are templates that you can use already. If you don't put anything in there, it defaults to this type of date that you've probably seen many times in your life. It's the ISO 8601 date, where we have year, hyphen, month, hyphen, day, T, and so on. And then, other options that we see down here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to structure this date the way we do where I work. And the way we do that is with the 4-digit year. And what I'll do is I'll hop in down here to learn that 4-digit year is 4 Ys. And then 2-digit month. And if I go and look for month, I'll see that to get the 2-digit month, I need to do capital M, and so on. I kind of happen to know what I'm looking for, so I'm just going to go ahead and type it in. But if you were doing this for the first time, all you would do is read through that documentation and you'd find what you want. So YYYY, MMDD, and then I'm going to put a hyphen, and then HH for hour, MM for minute, SS, and I'm going to put 3 digits of the microseconds as well. So there we go. Now I've got the date equals moment.format and all that stuff. And now instead of, I'll leave just got launched. I'm going to add a new line in here. And instead of CLI just got launched, I'm going to put in the date. All right. Now I'm going to hop back over to my terminal, and I'm going to type in my command. And well, for you might be watching these videos back to back. For me, it's been 2 days since I recorded the last one, so I forgot what I called the command. It is demo script. Excellent. So I'm going to type in demo script. And there we go. I got CLI.js just got launched, and then I have that formatted date where I have the year, the month, the day, hyphen, 24-hour time, and then dot microseconds. I could decide, oh, you know what? I want to have, colons in there just so it more clearly looks like the date. No problem. What I'll do is I'll hop back in here and I'll throw those colons in there, save that. And then a little trick to run the last command you just ran in terminal is you can hit the up arrow and that loads it up again, and you can hit return. There we go. So now I got a new date. I got my little semicolons, if indeed that's what I wanted. And then you'll see that they are different dates. The last one was at 1646:39. This is at 1647:13. So there we go. We have just added a little bit of programmatically generated data to the log that we're putting out. We also learned how to import an NPM package into our code, how to install it, and make sure there's a record of it in the package.json. And this is a move that we're going to perform again and again and again as this tutorial series unfolds. Okay, so one last little thing I forgot to add to this one. You remember that when we learned that first script, I said use Backticks because it's more powerful. People always say that. I now I find myself saying it too. It's so silly when you talk about things as powerful in this way, but you know what I mean. It's more powerful than using the single quotes or double quotes. And then you probably picked up on it if you were watching. Apparently I wasn't. When I did the second script, I didn't put in the backticks. I just put in the double quotes. And so I shouldn't have done that, first of all. So I'm going to click behind quote number 1, click behind quote number 2 with command held down, and this gets me 2 cursors. And then I'm going to go ahead and put in the backticks that I mentioned. And now I'm about to show you why you want to do that. What you can do if you use backticks is you can actually take variables and throw them into the middle of your string. So for instance, what I might want to do here, instead of just saying the date, I could say the date and time are, and then here's the syntax. You do a $, and then you do curly braces, and then you throw your variable or your JavaScript expression into those curly braces, and it will just go on and plug it into the string for you. You were able to do this in the old days with double quotes. If you're looking around the web, you're going to see loads and loads of stuff that looks like this, where you have double quotes, the date and time are, and then plus the date. That'll actually do the same thing. It's just you know, something this simple, it's pretty darn easy, but it's slightly less elegant once you get to more complex things that you want to swap into that little chunk of JavaScript expression we have between the curly braces. So we're not going to do that here, but if you've learned this elsewhere in some other coding class and you want to do it, that's also totally fine. All right, so I'm going to save this, hop back over to terminal, up arrow to run the script again, return, and there we go. The date and the time are, and it's swapping that thing in there for me. So the extra little thing we've learned in this now is how to use the backticks in order to swap in a value using this kind of quirky but ultimately manageable syntax of $, curly braces, and then shove some JavaScript in there. All right.